Hello. Well, here we are, another review. This one's gonna be a little bit longer than the last one, but I don't have as many as I had 2 book reviews ago. Let's start with Just Add Water this is by Katie Ledecky, an Olympian, the most decorated female swimmer. I guess maybe even more decorated than Michael Phelps. If you don't know who Katie Ledecky is, I mean, that's pretty much what she is and what she talks about in this book. There is not much else that she talks about. Swimming in is totally her life. She talks about it nonstop. She has a little bit of a pride issue from what I gathered from reading this. That was a little interesting because she's like not very humble. She knows she's the best and she isn't afraid to say it. Other than that, I think this book, it lacks wanting to know more about what her life is like. She doesn't give enough memories of herself. She talks about her brother Michael, not Michael Phelps, but her brother Michael. And she also talks about her parents a little bit. I would have liked a lot more about them, but she does talk about her 2 grandmothers quite a lot, and she's very close to them. So she talks a little bit of one of her grandfathers, where they come from, a little bit about the ethnic background that they have. But I feel like even though she talks a little bit about them, I want to know more about her feelings, her thoughts, and I don't believe that she gives enough of that. The only thing that we find out about her really is that she also plays piano and she was in the choir in high school and not much else. I can understand if you put your life so much into something, you're going to talk a lot about it, and I totally get that. But I feel like even other Olympian stories that I have read, like they tell you some emotions. Everything was hunky-dory with Katie Ledecky, and I don't think that's a problem. I think that's great. She makes good choices in life, so that's important. If they waited 15 years to ask her to write this book, that would have been better, because then we get to see maybe a little bit more of her life explained. The Lost Apothecary, or apothecary, I've heard, but apothecary is, my boys made fun of me because I said apothecary one time reading a book to them, and they both looked at each other. I was like, what? They said, you said apothecary. I said, I meant apothecary. I'm sorry. And they're like, oh, okay. This book, this was very unique and interesting. I think this was a debut novel for this author, and it's a historical fiction, but it also has some modern day telling. It is all fictional. It's about 3 different characters. We have, first, there is this old woman named Nella, and she is from the 1700s. She has an apothecary where she tries to help women in different situations with different things, but sometimes there is a little bit of murder. She does it to help protect women, and that is her excuse for wanting to kill off whatever man might have harmed them in some way. And we have Caroline, or Carolyn, I've heard some people want to be called, so I don't know which one the author wanted for her. Caroline, she is supposed to celebrate her 10th wedding anniversary in England, in London. She goes alone. She's very hurt. She finds out that her husband has been cheating on her. So when we read this book, just so you know, content-wise, there is talk about affairs, adultery, not in detail, but there are talks about the ideas that are planted in the wife's head because of finding such things, the way she found out. And so she gets very upset. There is sexual harassment of a child in this book, just so you are aware. It is not graphic, but there is a tiny little thing mentioned. It's not good. Anyway, I just wanted to give that warning out there. There are a couple swears in this, which I didn't appreciate. At least it was only a couple times. There's one more character in this, and her name is Eliza. And Eliza is a 12-year-old girl. She interacts with Nella. She has to go to her for a medicine of sorts. And so they have a connection that they form, a little bond, get both of their perspectives. And then Caroline finds this, pretty much what you see here, a bottle similar to this. A little different though. They describe what it looks like. And she's in London when she finds this bottle, and she researches the history about it. And she starts to learn a little bit about it while also trying to find out stuff about what she should do with her life because of what she found out about her husband. So that's what this book is about. I had been wanting to read this a long time, actually. It was whenever this came out, I had been looking forward to it. I think it was well told. There were some things in this where I was a little bit confused. Like, I feel like some of the things in here I don't think think are completely realistic. I can't really explain what those things are without giving away little details about what goes on in this book. There are some things that are discovered from the 1700s. Just some of it didn't seem realistic. I don't know. London is old. Maybe they don't. I can't say. My point is, I really enjoyed this story. I got sucked into it pretty well. As someone that enjoys true crime, this was an enjoyable fiction, historical fiction story. I liked the story from the past better than the modern time story, but I do think that it was done very well. I liked both stories, and I like how they went back and forth. I felt like it was done well. I'll just say that. It was a pretty good book. And real quick, I did read this manga. I have not read manga in a while. This one I had on pre-order, and so it arrived, and I was a little annoyed because it arrived with an upside down situation. I have to turn the book upside down and the other side. So usually when you read a manga, you read it from the back cover going like this. But this is the end of the book, upside down. So they really messed up because I have to read it then upside down, you know, like, so instead you have to, they just messed up the cover. So I have to read it upside down like this. So that is the right way. It's a little annoying. Anyway, I've been reading A Sign of Affection. This was the 11th one that just came out in English. This is about a deaf girl and a boy that she falls in love with. But this one was really good because it was something that I enjoyed because he talks a little bit about his time finding out about a cause that matters to him. And I feel like a lot of manga don't talk about important situations like that. So I thought that was really beautiful. And he's kind of telling his story to his girlfriend by sign language. Japanese sign, though, is different than English sign. Yeah, so I've been enjoying this series. I like to read things once in a while about like deaf people because I was actually, this is something that people on my booktube, actually probably both my channels don't really know, that I was partially deaf. 80% of my hearing was gone when I was about 18 months old until I was almost 5. I know what it's like to live with hearing loss, so therefore I really appreciate, and these things make me cry a lot because I understand to a point, but that was good. And then I wanted to talk about 2 books. I had read the 3rd book last time I did a review, and so now I went back to read the 1st and 2nd books. So I read The Courtship Plan. This was an Amish story. There's not a lot of talk about faith in this, but you know, the Amish have a lot of faith. And this one is about a girl named Charity. She really wants to get married. She's getting older. She's in like her late 20s, which is old in Amish terms. And she really, really wants a boyfriend. She gets this guy that she feels everyone has a crush on. And she just goes up to him and she kind of, hey, let's go on a date. And he's like, no. And he pretty much bashes her, and she gets really so upset that she moves away. But then he moves to the same town she's in, not knowing she's there. And it's interesting because I think about the 3rd book you had where, you know, the couple that is like the main people in the book, and then they have an old person. Same thing here. You have Charity working for an older person, and then you have her love interest. And so it's just interesting how that happens. I did really like this one. And so the courtship plan, she actually goes to the library and there's like this courtship plan, and she's very much planning for how she could get a boyfriend, and she kind of lets it out to this guy that she had tried to date. She's, you know, supposedly given up on him, but at the same time she kind of wants to be with him still. They're forming a friendship, and I really like the banter that they have, and it's kind of cute. I liked it. But then I also read after that The Proposal Plot. This one, even though the other 2 titles had something more that were about trying to get a relationship, The Proposal Plot is not about actually getting proposed to. It's something else. First off, the woman that Charity had worked for in the 1st book, that woman has a daughter, and she's an Englisher, as they call them, people that are not Amish. And that daughter comes to live with that woman. And now she is one of the main characters of the 2nd book. She's not the main character, but she's one of the ones mentioned often. And she's starting to get interested in the Amish life, the idea of it. And I think her story, not very realistic, to be honest with you, but it's cute. But there's also this other girl. She works her own business at a store. She had moved with her father and her sister. She does not get along with her sister at all. 2 of them are bickering all the time. They have this guy that is trying to get a business really close to where they are. And so now he's getting all involved. And then he has a nephew who has an interest in the main girl's sister. The main girl's name is Ella, and Junia is her sister. Malachi is now Junia's love interest. Her father, Ella and Junia's father, he's a widower. And so he's the older person in this story. So I think that's interesting that in all three books, they have that kind of situation, but this has an extra set of love interests going on. So you have like 2 love stories plus this woman that I mentioned, and it kind of ties all in together. And I did like this one, but I think that the third book was my favorite out of the 3, and the first book was really good, but the second one was like pretty good. So I did like this series. I think the love stories, they're funny. There are 3 characters that just annoy me, but then they get better over time. And then I'm like, okay, they're not so bad. Plain Expectations. This is a really short book and it's very cute. This is about the Victorian age is when it's set, because they mention Queen Victoria in this. In Plain Expectations, she's a bookworm. She's like the lesser pretty sister out of the 2 sisters. Her sister, everyone wants her. She's starting to get to know this one guy who, Mr. Garrett, he comes over a lot and they're starting to get to know each other. Everyone wants her sister, everyone. Whenever they go out, people are always approaching her sister because she's the pretty one. They're always trying to match make everyone with her sister. And she's like accepted that she probably won't get married, but her family has financial issues. And so she's going to have to become a governess. She doesn't really want to. And she feels like her mother especially doesn't care about her and that everything is about her younger sister instead of her. The stories, I felt like this was really well written. I had a lot of fun reading this book, even though it was so short. I think it was very well done and it was very cute. There was a situation, while there is no actual content in this, there was like 1 word of language, I believe. And then there's a situation that is like, okay, well, that's kind of sad, where it like starts to describe something happening and then you know what happens. From that time period, I can imagine this being a realistic take, but at the same time, how it was handled later, I don't really know if that would happen, but it was very sweet that I actually cried while reading this. Like I cried a lot. Like my tears were just going. I was very emotionally into this book. I loved this book. You can't really see it. Here, I'll put it up like this. My middle school best friend, she is my nutritionist coach. And we were talking about the book Minimalista, which is by the same author here. And she told me, oh, did you know about the new book coming out? Just found out about it that day. And I was like, whoa, that's so weird, because I was looking at like books that I wanted to read. And so I think I mentioned to her, like, yeah, I'd love to read that. She's like, oh, well, when I read it, I'll let you know about it. She sent me this book. She bought me this book and she sent it to me. And I was so touched by that. She's like, yeah, we'll talk about it together. This is beautiful. Now, Minimalista, I really loved that book. I read it at the very beginning of last year. One of my best books that I read last year. So this has more stuff about, there's health and wellness. So she is a minimalist and she is someone that is, it's funny because I'm a life coach, certified life coach, and specifically like trying to help people declutter and become a minimalist is something that I want to get back into coaching people to do. And so she does that. Yeah, there's beautiful pictures and she talks about different habits that you can make. This one doesn't really talk much about minimalism. It's more about just how you live your life and the choices you make. She does a lot of life coaching in this. I feel like I was getting the course that I took as if it was like coming back to me a bit, all the training that I got. So yeah, how to implement habits and tools about that, how you can have some organized spaces, like an entryway of having a mail drop-off box. And so this is just really good for those who are interested in minimalism and slow living. I had fun reading it. I read it very quickly. Not as good as Minimalista, but it was very enjoyable. Those are the books that I wanted to talk about today. And I hope you guys have a great day and let me know what you thought about these books if you read them. Bye-bye.